Well, good morning, everyone. And because it's relatively early, this is our first program. You haven't fully warmed up yet. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, thank you. Thank you. Well, all right, this is the portion of our program which we try to do at each convention, where we ask you for your questions. And a number of them have been submitted. I apologize in that I am just now seeing them for the first time, so we'll do the best we can in fielding them. With me here to address a lot of these things, people that you know, but I'll introduce them anyway. We have Linda Oliveira, who is a member of the General Council here, who was past president of the section in Australia. She was also past vice president and lived here for some time in that capacity. Next to her is Marcos de Resende from Brazil, who has been a longtime member also of the General Council, General Secretary or President of the section in Brazil, and a very active member throughout. He comes from a theosophical family as well, father, sister, you know, you've seen them. If you've been in the Theosophical Society, you have run across de Resende. And then, of course, Nancy Secrest, who needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. Nancy and I have known each other now for about 37, 38 years. It's been a while. From the United States, when she first came to the headquarters there as National Secretary at that time. Currently, she is the Secretary for the TOS worldwide, and she also serves as our International Treasurer. So if among this group no answer is forthcoming, you need to ask a different question, I think. All right, let's see. I'll just start with whatever it is that I have unfolded, which sounds like a very theosophical way of saying it. All right, so during this 150th year of the Theosophical Society, why is the TS Adyar not taking an initiative to bring the various TS groups onto a single platform? That's something I could definitely answer, but I will ask others to speak to that. Go ahead, Nancy.
Good morning. I think I have to be more diplomatic than what I was just going to say. The TS has taken that initiative. If you were at, you're welcome. If you were at the World Congress, you saw that we had a panel discussion with four leaders of various TS groups in the TS movement. Everybody is very cordial with everybody else. If you have been here for past conventions, you have heard speakers from the various TS movements. Tim has been instrumental in trying to get people here and trying to heal the wounds that were initially created by the various splits along the way. I don't think any of the groups want to be formed into one group again. They each have their own perspective. The thing that unites us is Madame Blavatsky and her teachings and theosophy. But the various groups in the movement do their own thing, and they like it that way. And we're very good friends, and those initiatives have been taken.
I just want to add something brief to what Nancy has mentioned. Our president has taken a real initiative with this since he assumed office, and that has been evident in the programs. But on one occasion, I was here on the stage with a number of members of other theosophical groups. Before this session commenced, the lady representing one of those groups turned to me and she said, people think that the TS ADR and our particular group are going to amalgamate. She said it's not going to happen. So she felt strongly that that particular group wanted to follow its course. And I think we need to respect that these different groups each have their own specific objects, but we can be friends, and that's a wonderful thing.
There in Brazil, as it happened here, that the leaders of other societies came and they speak here. We invited them there too, and they were there. But sometimes our society has an universalist vision. They sometimes want just part of the teachings. They said to me, oh, he will go to your country, but he will speak about that. I said, oh, he will speak about whatever he wants. Then I think sometimes there are differences of focus. For us, the most important things are to keep this universal vision of theosophy. This is the most important, but we are friends of them, and we are open for them.
Yeah, for me, first of all, I was going to give an answer similar to Nancy in the sense that during this 150th year, we have definitely and specifically made a point of reaching out to our fellow theosophical groups. It's an interesting thing because it started off, of course, as one theosophical society, but with time, to my mind, it's a beautiful situation, honestly. I was asked a question once, it was at some meeting somewhere in the US, where someone talked to me, and the thrust of their question was, if the Theosophical Society is supposedly about unity, brotherhood, how is it that it hasn't even been able to keep itself from splitting? And so it was this kind of assumption that to have different groups somehow is an expression of disunity. I do believe that perhaps historically, when at the times that the different theosophical societies divided, there was some sense of enmity that was engendered. There were different paths that people were taking, and that caused some friction, of course. But now, 150 years on, there isn't a person alive who was present at the time that these divisions took place. So anything where you find someone harboring some sense of divisiveness or antagonism, it's specifically the problem of that person, something that they have inherited. But I think that's past. Some years ago, we had invited the head of the group in Point Loma group in The Hague, ULT, to come and share the stage at our international convention. I hadn't even thought of it, but while Herman Vermeulen was speaking, he made the comment that this is the first time that a leader of one of the other organizations had ever spoken at the international convention. It caused me to think, because to me it's not a question of history, it's just a question of we're standing in different places looking at the same thing. Why shouldn't there be some sense of cooperative living? So anyway, that's my sense for that question. We have had them at the various groups. We're at the International World Congress. And then again, the same sort of program has been repeated within some of those other groups. over the course of the year. All right, let's say, oh, that's the same question. So here's a question. How can we keep the TS relevant for another 150 years? I like your smile, Marcos. Let's start with you.
Well, I think this is a very important question, because this Theosophical Society during these 150 years was always in the vanguard of humanity. And a lot of things that the society advocate in that time now is common, related to religions. We see the Pope doing that in certain way. About the position of women in society, we see a big change in that. What about the future? If we look to the world, we see the world is in very bad conditions. The competition, the wars, still in the 21st century, we have nations killing people of other nations because of power. Then I think we have I think we have a very important role, because with our actions, we touch the collective mind. If we really live in peace in our relations, in our family, in our work, in our in neighborhood, wherever we are, if we really think for peace, if you are really in a position to want the peace in the world and make this peace in our lives, and with all this study we have, we make it practical in our life, not just theoretical theosophy, but a living theosophy. If you really are a nucleus of universal brotherhood as it is expected from us, a big change will happen in the world. But we need to do whatever is expected from us. Really be kind, really be brothers in a profound and higher sense, and spread this wherever we are in our relations in the world at all. Then I think it's just not to spread ideas, but to live a different life. We change the world mind and the world condition. This is very important, because this society has this mission to make in the earth a place where the masters can have this influence to send this uplifting energy for all. Then I think we have a lot to do.
Piggybacking on what Marcos has just said, the other day when Raika Nahar was speaking at the TOS session, she spoke about putting the head and the heart together. And I think that that is very much what Marcos was referring to. And as far as, and I can't remember in the question if they said theosophy or Theosophical Society, but as far as making the society relevant, I don't think that matters so much as keeping the teachings relevant, the theosophy itself. And I do think that we can do that by each and every one of us living theosophy, again, as Marcos has suggested. To me, that is the most important thing. Study, meditation, and service all together. And exuding that kind of vibration. We need to help each other. We need to be attentive and see where the needs are and try our very best with whatever is possible for us as individuals and groups to do to meet those needs. And I think on another level, a deeper level, I spoke the other day about global meditation. There will be a global meditation here this morning, right after this program. And people around the world have already started doing this to try to change the atmosphere in which all of us, the whole world, lives. And it doesn't matter if you're a theosophist, it doesn't matter what religion you are, if you are no religion. The thing that is important is to keep the health and the healing and the raising of consciousness alive and to promote that. And I think if enough of us worldwide do that kind of thing, we won't have to worry about the next 150 years. It will be thousands of years, excuse me, if the planet is around that long, that we can live, I believe, in harmony and peace.
The Theosophical Society was formed in large part to show the world that theosophy exists. And I agree, it is theosophy which has this perennial relevance, and that's what really needs to be explored and understood and reflected upon in ever new and inquiring ways. The Theosophical Society itself can be thought of having two aspects to itself: the inwardness of the society and the outwardness. The inwardness involves the members of the society together trying to understand and to live theosophy more and more. And it is that individual change in members of the society which will make it that much richer. But on the other hand, there is also the outwardness of the Theosophical Society, the fact that it does need to look outwards as well, to be aware of how the world is, the needs of humanity, and how it is situated in this regard. And therefore also we need to be clear on whatever it is that we want to communicate outwards to the world, and take advantage of the wonderful technology that is available today to be able to share it with the world. And therefore, those members of the society who have a familiarity and real understanding of IT can be of great value as well. So inwardness and outwardness.
Yeah, just excuse me, just to pick up on what has been shared already. One of the purposes, I believe, of the Theosophical Society, of course, it is to serve humanity. And here we have decided that the theme was going to be to talk about a new humanity. We've touched on the subject as we have gone along, but the idea of a new humanity, in a sense, forces us to look beyond what we regard as the present, at least the present condition, the present blindnesses that we all find ourselves suffering from. I don't think it would be something that would be easily denied that the pattern of human behavior is influenced by the pattern of limitations of our consciousness as a human family that we have been following for some time, is starting to show, areas of limitation. It is distinctly unsatisfying and non-life affirming in many different directions. And so the whole point of this whole theosophical movement has been to put us in touch, make it known that such a thing as theosophy exists. Make it known that the possibility for a connection with an overarching view of human possibility is available to us. And in that process, we uplift, not just ourselves, but every little bit that we're able to raise ourselves up internally in our groups, we affect the whole. Seems like a small thing, if just a few of us brighten up, but quite clearly, if we look at the history of humanity, the people that are remembered, the Gandhis of the world, the Buddhas of the world, the Lao Tzus of the world, were individuals, but because they were able to connect so completely with this, what we regard as the ageless wisdom, they're remembered thousands of years, and their influence persists through thousands of years. And this, I think, is the direction of this theosophy, and we try to play our part in what ways that we can. 150 years, it's a short time. So to be here for another 150 years, I won't be around for you to tell me I was wrong, but I guarantee it. That's a safe guarantee. I don't have to suffer from making it. All right. This is a question that is an interesting one. And it speaks about an impression that must have been strongly made. How is it that there are so many great and enthusiastic young theosophists? Our young theosophists should pat yourselves on the back. How is it that there are so many of you who are great and enthusiastic? Are we qualified to answer that question?
Yeah.
Or should we ask one of them?
We've been there.
Okay, go ahead.
Have you heard of reincarnation? I think that one answer to that question is that these young people are not new to our ideas. They may be new to theosophy, or to the Theosophical Society, but they are not new to the ideas that HPB put forth. I think that probably they have been living these things for many lives. And recently, in the last few years, they have, again, because it's happened in the past, we seem to have a hiatus about having a lot of young theosophists, but now they have really come together. And the energy and the love that I feel from the young people, and actually when you think about it, our young people go up to 40 years old. That's not all that young. That's middle age. These people have careers. They have specific professions that are extremely helpful because it's the new technology, extremely helpful not only to themselves, their group, but to the society as a whole. And you can bet that we've been taking advantage of that. So I think I guess I would call it a reemergence of all of this energy and the thoughts and the love and all of that, and it is just really coming to the fore in the last few years. And I know that TOS, it is TOS. TOS India has started a meditation camp that's more specifically geared to younger members, I think. Is that right, Deepa? Yeah, okay. And other group, there are other young groups in other countries. Tanzania has a very active youth group. I have heard that Brazil does as well. So it's becoming more active. And also now, with the internet and Zoom and all of these things, this group is worldwide. As you notice, their name is World Federation of Young Theosophists. It used to just be called Young Theosophists. But now it's around the world, and they can connect with each other instantaneously. So all of that, I think, helps towards having younger people more involved.
Well, I think this society was founded by the masters using people of the world. They couldn't do that in person. And I see this movement as a big avenue that all passes. Blavatsky passed, Danny Bezin passed, many other leaders and many other people, and here we are. I think all of us started as young theosophists. And when some soul is attracted to this movement as a young boy or a young girl, sometimes has this destiny, this dharma, to carry on this work for the future generations. And I think the masters need to attract the right souls to keep this movement influent in the human evolution. Then we are very happy when we see, it's not the case to mention names, but I was very inspired by Catalina's talk another day. When you see someone, young person, so inspired, so profound in her feelings, we really feel happy that there are a future for the society. And we hope the right young people come when we are not any more here. Others we will take care of that, and these avenues continue guided by the masters.
There are perhaps a couple of different ways of approaching theosophy. One is through what is essentially head learning, in the sense of becoming acquainted with the teachings, being able to repeat what one has read and so forth. But there is another thing that can happen to an individual as well. And this is where a real change can take place. When somebody is really touched by some aspect of theosophy, then something is kindled within and something takes hold and there can be a change. And I think that with the wonderful group of young theosophists that we have now, for quite a few of them this has happened. It's a wonderful thing to come across it at a young age, because it's something that can take hold and really grow with you as well. I was extremely fortunate to be born into a theosophical family and joined it at a very young age. And there has never been anything else for me. There were certain teachings, including the teachings of the existence of the holy ones and the path, which took root very deeply and have informed my life. And I hope that for a number of the young theosophists around the TS today, something similar might happen. But I also want to make mention of the fact that our respected president has encouraged and allowed space for a group of young theosophists to emerge in a new way, in a sense of having international contacts as well. And this is continuing to help to expose more and more young people to the wonders of theosophy and the Theosophical Society. So there can be an opportunity, but something also needs to take root in a person and enkindle something very precious, and then extraordinary things can happen.
I agree with what everyone has said. I just personally am very, very happy that we have a group of people. Some of you will remember not too long ago during these meetings, we would try to have a meeting of those young theosophists that were here, and the 4 or 5 of them that would be on hand would meet, but it kept the attempt going. The World Federation, of course, has been active. I think the last president of it before it was reorganized was your dad, wasn't it? Of the World Federation of Young Theosophists. Yeah. So,
Not the last one.
but previous one. Yeah. So it's something that the young theosophists around the world themselves saw a need, themselves organized, themselves created the structures along which they could meet, created the meeting spaces for that. The contribution we've been able to make is to encourage all of our sections to provide resources. It's not a matter of controlling the point of view or channelizing it so that it fits what an older mind might think is appropriate. So that's been the approach and the avenue. And yeah, I'm very happy for the way things are unfolding. It also gives our young theosophists an opportunity to deal with and to grapple with the types of issues and problems that necessarily come up when you're trying to deal with groups of people. So, that's a lesson that is well worth learning. And so that's also a preparation for future service, because it's not possible unless you can embrace the various personalities and directions that you find within a large group of people such as this. So I'm very happy about the way they've organized and are carrying on. We have a couple of questions, I'll combine them all, about the spirit of a new humanity. So one is, what inner qualities are essential for building a new humanity? Another, how is the spirit of a new humanity different from the current spirit of humanity? How can theosophy help us reach the realization of a new humanity? And then the question is, if consciousness could empty the mind as and when required, is that no mind state the beginning of the spirit of a new humanity? So a variety of ways you might choose to kind of address the question of a new humanity. Any thoughts?
I think this is very profound, because the new humanity, I suppose, will be the humanity of intuition, where the consciousness is beyond thought. And then this empty mind is not the mind that forgets everything for practical life, but is the mind that is really open for the higher planes. In this level, the energy that comes creates life in a different basis, not as competition but cooperation, not as doctrining, shaping other men, but helping them to flourish by themselves. There are a lot of things related with this open mind to the higher planes, related with this new humanity.
It's a tough question.
Starting sentence. New. I think what's coming into my head is that it's not so much new as maybe it's realization. It's the mission statement of the Theosophical Society comes to mind, which I'm probably going to get wrong, to serve humanity by cultivating an ever-deepening realization and understanding and realization of the ageless wisdom, self-transformation, spiritual self-transformation, and the unity of all life. And this is not new. But the thing is, ever-deepening understanding and realization. And I think that's what's new. Blavatsky, in many places, talked about unfoldment. I love that word, rather than even self-realization or anything. She talked about unfoldment, and we've often heard the metaphor of the onion, where you're taking off layer after layer after layer. You get to the center, of course, there's nothing there. But then you go to Buddhism, and emptiness is talked about, and that's what, and I'm really digressing. But the point is that what is new and ever new and thankfully ever changing is the realization and the understanding within us, and hopefully many, many others in the world, is constantly growing. I think it's getting bigger and it's getting better all the time. And I really want to foresee a day, I do foresee a day when we truly realize that we are all one. We're one person. That's a really, really difficult concept to get your head around. And I don't know if we, in our physical bodies, with our physical brains, ever truly will understand the true significance of what that means. But we are already one person. We are already unity. We are humanity as a not as a group, but as an entity. And in this new humanity, it's just one step closer. It's in the spiral of learning that we are going through. It's one step closer to the truth, to what we know to be actual reality, but haven't quite gotten our heads around yet.
In the early days of the Theosophical Society, one of the Mahatmas mentioned something to the effect of that humanity is the same as it has been as it was 1,000,000 years ago. I remain an optimist, and I believe that the Theosophical Society, with its first object, has helped to really form a nucleus of this whole concept of brotherhood and sisterhood. There are other movements in the world which do this in different ways, but the society has this deep core of teachings as well, this energy, this vitality about it, which I think needs to be nurtured very much. When we think of a new humanity, it also implies an old humanity, which is to be left behind. And one way of thinking about that old humanity is a humanity in which there is much division and fragmentation. And it's this which needs to be made into some sort of coherent whole, so that the new human being has a renewed kind of mind, which is essentially unitive in nature. And therefore, I think this new humanity is one which is touched by what in theosophical terminology we would call Buddhic consciousness in some way. And when that happens, something extraordinary can come about. So I think if we can help to inspire people through the wonderful teachings of theosophy, this kind of thing can help lead to such a change. And the TS was a great experiment in brotherhood and sisterhood as well. And that remains the case. So if we can really succeed better and better with this experiment, this will also help contribute to this new humanity.
Annie Besant was a great woman for many, in many regards. One of the ways that she was great in her political activity, in her vision for her political activity was this, that she came to India at a certain time, a certain moment, but for whatever reasons, she could see an India that lay beyond that moment. And in all of the things that she did, she was preparing the institutions, preparing the people to be able to step into this vision that she saw as, just up ahead. An India that was independent, an India that in that independence needed uplifted citizens in order to take on the roles, educated citizens. An India that became perhaps more equal in terms of gender divisions. All of the sorts of things that she looked at while she's here in, the old humanity of that moment. She built things to meet this approaching moment. And I think in some ways maybe that's something we need to think about within our theosophical activities. What is it? What are the, not just institutions, but what are the ways in which we approach this world that create a space where what's up ahead can be formed and can thrive? And I think in that way, creating these centers, each of us are involved in places around the world. We have lodges, we have families, we have centers of consciousness that we, part of this role is to activate those, but to activate it consistent with a vision. I have to say, Nancy made me proud by reciting our mission statement by heart.
With flaws.
Yeah, well, minor flaws. I have said, this mission statement is really, if you ever take the time to kind of walk through it, think your way through it, and then get quiet with what you realize, that's a deep thing. It's 24 words. I mean, if you know 3 phone numbers, you can memorize the mission statement of the TS. But anyway, I think that too, in many ways, speaks to a future, a new humanity.
I'd like to add
Yes, please.
that these 24 words took the General Council 3 years to write.
We're a little
And
slow.
this is not, really.
I know.
This is how careful the people you have elected to the General Council were with putting together a mission statement. And one thing that I learned that was very interesting is that every word was looked at from the perspective of all the languages that were present, because what I might say in English and the meaning that I get from that specific word is not necessarily, I learned, what somebody from Finland or Ukraine or Portugal, Brazil, sorry, Brazil might interpret that word to be. So we were very, very careful in choosing the wording of that. And I just think that's a fantastic thing. And Tim did a marvelous job of navigating for 3 years the group as this was being written.
At some point, if I find the time and get around to it, I would like to kind of talk about or write about how that thing came into being, because it didn't begin as a mission statement. I mean, Linda, you would know better than anyone. It began with a suggestion from Australia, because in every country we have groups that just go off in different directions. I mean, to many people, there was a woman in the United States, Emily Sellon, and she was fond of saying, everything is theosophy is everything, but everything is not theosophy. So I think in our groups very often, it's very possible to be deeply involved in something that has its place, has its meaning, but really is not part of this theosophical direction. And so that was something that every section encounters. We started with that, with the idea of trying to define those things, but somehow or another, it shortly became clear that there was something more, something deeper at the heart of that thing. And as we worked with it, Michelangelo was famous for saying, they asked him how he carved his great statue of David. He said it was simply by removing everything that was not David. He took the stone and chipped away everything that was not the David that was waiting in there to be revealed. This was what that was. But to be quite honest, I was concerned about a committee developing this mission statement. There is a saying that a camel is a horse designed by a committee. It's supposed to be an Arabian horse, but it's got a hump and it's got a tail and is ill-spirited. But again, so for me, again, that was also a learning that the type of trust that is required to really, for any of this to happen and to move, is something that we have to kind of find our way to that. And out of that trust, this committee, it was 30-some people when this thing was completed, sitting around a table, and we had worked at it bit by bit, not continuously. And there was a moment when the last piece of this thing came into place. And it was a moment where nobody in that room had to say, this is it. Something else inhabited that room at that moment. I've heard doctors talk about being present at the birth of a child and how there is this sense of, some grand something, the angelic kingdom filling the room. That was that moment. And so to me, really, it's one of the, we've done a lot of things together over the years. That, to me, is a real highlight. Yeah.
I think it's very important to use the right words, but to go beyond them. And we use the expression ageless wisdom. We could use theosophy, but if you use theosophy, probably it may give the idea that we are owners of theosophy. And then you use another expression to say the same thing and go beyond. That was really a very wonderful experience to participate in that.
And everybody here was involved. It's okay. You can go ahead, come on. Well, look here, as is the custom with this, I got this many questions remaining, and less than 2 minutes if we're going to be respectful of the time. Let me ask, What personal insight has most shaped your theosophical journey? And you can be as brief as one word or whatever. What personal insight has most shaped your theosophical journey? It's a personal question.
When I was 12 years old, I was raised Roman Catholic. Nothing wrong with that. Beautiful religion. But when I was 12 years old, I realized that there was more. So I would say in one word that the personal vision was more than the Catholic Church taught. Everything was fine. In fact, after I found theosophy, as we say, and went back to the church to be for family things, baptisms, weddings, things like that. In the rituals that the priest performed, I could see, I felt that I knew what they meant at that point. The average person in the congregation doesn't have any idea of the profound things that are actually happening during the Mass or any kind of spiritual ritual, I think. But Theosophy added that more, and it opened my eyes. It was a part of the unfolding, but that's what I would say. Just knowing that there was more.
How about you, Marcos? Or
Actually, something a little bit similar has stayed with me in this sense that there is something more, because I always thought that it was illogical that some higher power would put a human being on the earth for one particular life, and then that was it. There was always a sense that there was something else, that there was a longer trajectory of human evolution. And so coming into contact with theosophical teachings which gave the longer-term view and the possibility of becoming more like the holy ones and shaping one's life accordingly, that has stayed with me and profoundly affected life ever since I first came across this kind of idea, really, or reality.
Well, I had the good karma to born in a theosophical family. Then these teachings about the masters, about theosophy, came to me very early. But when I was a teenager, Krishnamurti books came to me too. And then it was challenging. This man was challenging me every time. And then I think my best inspiration is to see the truth beyond the form of the teachings. And then I can see in Krishnamurti teachings profound theosophy. And of course, in theosophical books too. But this link, just oneself can do inside him or herself. That's my biggest experience in my life related to the comprehension of the teachings.
just, I guess, in the interest of time, 2 words for me were, the importance of, at the time I used to view it as others. You know, that in this world there is a hunger on all different levels. You know, as I had a hunger for something more, so others are hungering. And then also, particularly as association with this theosophical life has progressed, the all importance of coming to some sort of grasp, well, bad word, but coming to some sort of connection with unity, with oneness, and the power and the presence and all that that brings with it. So others, unity. Look, let me say this, you all have been very patient and kind. I really have, this session is now closed. Thank you all.